Grew up in a little village in Norfolk called Wigan Hall St Mary Magdalene. Beautiful little historic village right on the River Ouse. Yeah, I grew up there and there was nothing much going on. Pretty much everybody worked on the land. I went to school. I was pretty terrible at school. I didn't do that well at school. I didn't have any interest in much at school other than artistic things, writing. I loved writing. And I loved music. My mum and dad had a motorbike and sidecar, and me and my sister would ride along in the sidecar with a little transistor radio. And we'd hear people like Bobby V and Bobby Vinton and Tommy Rowe and Johnny Tillotson and all of the pop singers of that period. And we'd just sit in the sidecar and we'd sing these songs and we'd be lost. We'd be in a world of our own. It was absolutely fantastic. I guess I was a fan of Cliff Richard and the Shadows, and Cliff was it. Back in those days, Cliff was just the pop star, the biggest thing. And I was as fascinated by Cliff as anybody was, you know, we all were. But I was actually, probably more than that, I was fascinated by the Shadows. I loved the Shadows. I loved Hank Marvin. I just loved watching these guys play this music, and it was unlike anything else. Prior to that, it was like Keith Richards always says, you know, how much is that doggy in the window, and Que Sera, you know, and that was about the extent of it. And then along came Bill Haley and Elvis and all that kind of stuff, but we didn't really have our own pop stars until Cliff. Cliff came along, and Cliff was like our Elvis, you know, and the Shadows were like our, I don't know, not our Bill Haley, I guess, I don't know what they were. They were like the first rock band, really. They played electric guitars like rock music, and I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. We used to go to the beach a lot, actually. Dad had bought a car, and prior to that we had a motorbike and sidecar, and we used to go to the beach on that, but it became a serious, regular event when we got our first car. But anyway, we go off to the beach, we go to this place called Brancaster, and there's a great big beach, and it had a huge, great big car park, and everybody would park their cars in the car park, and then you'd have to walk probably a quarter of a mile to find a spot on the beach. The beach would be absolutely packed. On a good day in England, if there's a good beach, and people are going to be there because there ain't many. We get all our stuff, we'd load everybody up, we got the picnic basket and the blankets and the toys and the rubber tube to take out in the water and stuff like this. We'd have all our stuff, we'd all be loaded up, each family member, me, my two sisters, and mum and dad. And I'm tagging along, and I was usually the last one. I was always tagging along behind. My sisters were up front, my mum and dad were leading the charge, heading down the beach. And somebody had a transistor radio, and I can hear this music, and it's absolutely captured me before I'm even up to it. And I heard it, it was like magic to me. It was like something I'd never heard before. And it was just so fantastic, and my mind was transfixed with it. And the other part of my mind was still keeping an eye on mum and dad and my two sisters, because I could easily lose them in this vast crowd of people. And I was terrified of being lost. That scared me too. I wanted to stay close to mum and dad. But this music was really powerful. I got right close up to the transistor, and I'm standing there looking at it, and these people must have thought, what's this kid looking at, you know? But I just stood there transfixed by this music. And my parents are starting to drift further and further through the crowds of people down towards the ocean. And I'm standing there wanting to hear what this music is. I want to know what it is. It sounds so amazing, I've got to find out. And so I hold on as long as I can. And I'm thinking, I'm watching mum and dad disappear in the distance with the radio. Mum and dad and the radio, and we're back and forth. And I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm in a panic. I'm in a kind of panic state. And finally, mum and dad are just virtually out of sight. And so the guy comes on the radio and says, it's Ray Charles, take these chains from my heart and set me free. And I found out who it is. And I locked that in my mind, and I bolt down the beach to catch up with mum and dad. I finally find mum and dad. But there was a point in time there where it was a choice between Ray and my mum and dad. And really, if it came to if it came down to making a choice at that point, I would have chosen Ray, and that was the signal to me in my life. There's something more important here that's calling me, and yeah, that was that moment. I was walking through the village and I heard this music coming out of this basement room. I had no idea it was a band. It just sounded like great music. It sounded like the Shadows. But I peeked through the window and I saw these guys playing real instruments, and I was beside myself with excitement. I was so excited. I'd just never seen this before, and it was just like magic taking place right in front of my eyes. And these guys, I'd seen them. They were the previous generation to me, I guess. And I stayed until they finished. I literally couldn't move. I was stuck on the spot. There's nothing more exciting going on in the village I lived in than this moment, than this thing I'd discovered. And nobody else had discovered it that I knew of. None of my friends knew of it. And it was my little secret. I remember going home, running home after they finished playing. I didn't wait around to see if they came out and talk to them or anything like that. I was far too shy. I just ran home and I told my mum I'd seen this thing. And it was like an epiphany. It had changed my life, and I said, I'm going back tomorrow night to see if it's happening again. I went back the next night, and nothing happening. I went back the night after that, it's still nothing happening. I went night after night, and then one night I got there again, and it's happening again, and wow, it's really happening, man. I was so excited. I'd go there virtually every night to see if they were playing, and any night they were, I'd sit there on the pavement, and I'd watch, until one night they saw me peering through the window and asked me if I wanted to come in, and I couldn't believe my luck. I went in and I sat down there. I didn't say a word. I just sat and watched, transfixed. And they talked to me and asked me stuff, and did I like it, and what did I like, and stuff like that. And that was it. And from that point on, they kind of befriended me. They kind of taught me how to do a few things on instruments, and suddenly it was on. I was off and away. I'd discovered my thing in life, and really it's still going on today. That's pretty much where it came from.